Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Moving Forward Talk with Diana. Tonight we have Mr. Shemaya Royal with us, and it's a pleasure to have you on our show tonight. But before we get into a conversation with Mr. Royal, I would like to take this opportunity to remind us of the purpose of this platform. The purpose is to motivate others, motivate individuals who have allowed circumstances beyond their control to cripple their future, motivate those who have given up on self improvement, motivate those who have allowed risk factors to hinder them from achieving their goals. So we want to let them know that they can accomplish whatever they want to accomplish without putting limitation on their capability to do so. So, Mr. Royal, as I said before, thank you for joining us tonight. We want you to share your motivational story. As we said, the purpose of this platform is to share motivational stories so we can use those stories to encourage others who are going through situations that we have experienced. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we're going to ask you to give us a background of whatever risk factors that you have experienced, how you overcame them.
Okay. All right. Well, I was born and raised in North Carolina. I grew up with both parents in the home, but we still struggled financially. So that was to me my biggest risk factor, and I think that's a big risk factor for a lot of youth that I see today, because it could have been so easy for me to make the wrong decision and like, oh, well, we don't have money. Okay, I'm gonna go out here and get it. But me, I had a different mindset. I used my struggle as motivation. I really wanted to get a better life for myself, but I knew that doing anything illegal would only make my life worse. So went through high school, and to be completely honest with you, I wasn't the best student in high school. I literally especially my first 2 years, my grades were terrible. School wasn't my biggest focus because I had so much going on in my personal life. Like, it was hard to focus on school when you go home and the lights may not be on, or you may not have food in the refrigerator, or you may not have a home to go to. So for me, school was like the last thing on my priority list in that time frame. So my grades were terrible. But when I got to when I say about my junior year, it was kind of the conversation where I did enough those first like 2 years to get by. So it wasn't like I was like repeating grades or anything. It just, my grades were terrible. But like my junior year, going into my junior year, it was, it was like, okay, well, what are you gonna do after high school? And I was like, yo, I knew when I was young, I used to always say, oh, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a lawyer, but those plans weren't realistic of what lining up with what I was doing in school. But I was like, you know what? I need to figure out how I'm gonna get away from like my situation. So I was like, I'm gonna just go to college. I applied to several different colleges, and to be honest, a lot of them I didn't get accepted in because, like I said, my grades were terrible. There were like 2 or 3 schools who did accept me. I went to a school. It was in the middle of nowhere, and I made good grades there so I could transfer to the school I always wanted to go to, which is East Carolina. I transferred there, and I majored in criminal justice. Received my bachelor's degree, and then after that, joined the military. Been in the National Guard 5 years. But my whole motivation for all of that was to never, go back to where I started. I don't want to live that life, and I have it there. I don't have any kids yet, but I said I struggled enough for me and my kids. So I want to be able to set up a lifestyle there where I'm comfortable. I don't have to worry about oh, where is this going to come from, or is that going to come from? Because growing up like that, people don't realize it, but you have PTSD from stuff like that. Like, I know stuff like, even stuff now, I think my thought process. Like I said, if the light don't come on, I'm thinking, oh man, they didn't turn the lights off, you know, or just any little thing. So I try to make sure that I never experience those things again.
And I like what you said about your. I, I don't like the fact that your grades weren't good, but I like I like the tools you took.
Mm-hmm.
I like the path you took. You applied to various colleges, but because of your grades, you weren't accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So what you did is you went to another school. You
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go to, what's the name of your college?
ECU.
ECU.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, your grades weren't good enough to get into ECU.
Yeah.
So you took another route
Mm-hmm.
to achieve that goal. You didn't give up, but you
Right.
took another route. And that's one of the things that I would like for our young people to understand, that sometimes you want to start from the top.
Mm-hmm.
We can't always start from the top. Very unlikely that we will start from the top. But
Mm-hmm.
if in case that particular dream doesn't work out the way you have it planned out, so I'm going to graduate from high school and I'm going to go straight on to the college or university of my choice.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work out, that does not mean that your college or your education stops there. All that means is to reroute. We
Right.
don't give
Exactly.
up. We just reroute. So
Mm-hmm.
you can go to a community college, earn your AA, or even do a year and earn some credits to be accepted into the college of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
It is there's always ways to achieve what you want to achieve.
Definitely.
So and before we want to talk about accountability, and I know you touched on that a little bit, but at what stage in life did you take accountability to say, I'm not coming from the best of family background in terms of financial,
Mm-hmm.
but not because I wasn't born, as the saying would say, with a silver spoon into my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
not because I didn't born into riches. That is not going to hinder me
Right.
from trying to earn my own wealth
Mm-hmm.
productively. At what point in life, or at what age, or what influenced you to take such accountability?
I just know that throwing yourself a pity party will get you nowhere.
Correct.
So
Mhm.
it was, I mean, what you gonna do? Sit around and cry about it, or you gonna make it better? And that's just, I can't tell you where that stemmed from, but that's just was my thought process. I mean, I can sit here all day and say, "Oh, this ain't going right in my life. This ain't going right in my life." But me saying all those things didn't bring a solution. So me, I've always been about action. So if I didn't like something in my life, or if I don't like something in my life now, I do something about it.
Mhm.
So that was the whole thought process behind it.
And that just drove me to the question. Just drove me to the question of when we observed,
Mhm.
especially we both work with young people,
Mm-hmm.
and when we listen to their story and we observe their action, and yes, our environment does play a part and does influence who we become if
Mhm.
we allow it to. How did you escape that route? Because when you think about it and when you look at what is expected
Mm-hmm.
of a young black man, how you escape that route?
God's grace, to
God's
be honest.
grace. Mm-hmm.
Because I could have easily fell in those traps. Because when I was in high school, I feel like everybody I knew was in a gang. Like, so it was, I don't know. Like, I know too. One of the things that kind of kept me, I can think of something that made me, stay away from streets, because when I was about 15 years old, we were standing outside in my neighborhood, and like I said, everybody back then was in gangs. So we were standing outside. It was me, my sister, and some more people from my neighborhood, and there was a car came into our neighborhood really fast, turned into somebody's driveway, backed out, and they jumped out with guns, and they started pointing the guns at us. And while they pointing the guns at us, and honestly, it felt like the world stopped moving. And not even really stopped moving. It was like moving in slow motion. Like everything kind of just, was moving slowly. And when they was pointing the guns at us, it was like I was in my head. Like I can hear myself, and I'm just like, oh. But that situation was like, bro, you don't want to be in these streets, like people running up on you with
Mm-hmm.
guns, like, you know, that to me that was like that was my experience. I'm like, nah, the streets ain't for you. That was probably my biggest thing. But like I said, you can easily get wrapped up in it just because that was all we saw. Like, um, people were either in gangs, they were selling drugs, doing drugs, and it was, like I said, a lot of it was, most of it was God grace, and a lot of it was, my drive to do better.
And you said earlier that you already lived that rough life, so to say,
Hmm.
for you and your unborn kids. So
Hmm.
you never want your kids.
Right.
So you never want your kids to actually experience some of this stuff. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's good for us to let them know where we're coming
Right. Yeah.
from.
Definitely.
We don't want to hand everything to them where now they are not appreciative, or where they think, okay, so it's handed to me, so I don't want to go work for anything, you
Hmm.
know. But and I feel the same way, because growing up I didn't have a lot either.
Hmm.
But I told myself that if ever I have children, they would never have to experience most of the stuff that I've experienced. Now, one of the risk factors that is commonly used to predict our young people's future is the absence of a father
Hmm.
or a positive role model
Right.
in the home.
Hmm.
Now, I know that you had a positive role model in your home. So share a little bit of how, of the difference between having one and not having one.
Um, with me, I can kind of just talk about like what I learned
Hmm.
from my dad. I've always seen my dad work,
Right,
so that instilled in me, you got to work.
right.
I never seen my dad just sitting around like not having. I don't ever remember the time my dad not having a job.
Hmm.
But so that to me, that's what I saw. So now that's what I do. I work two jobs, go to school because I've always seen, what I'm saying, a man hustle. So
Right.
that was my thought process. That's what a man's supposed to do. So when you looking at it from the other side of the fence, I mean, if a kid sees their dad, selling drugs or
Hmm.
whatever, they could think that's what a man's supposed to do.
Hmm.
So it's important to, I'm all about representation. Um, and for example, I have two younger nephews, and when I graduated college, or any accomplishment I have, I make sure that they're there because I want them to see my uncle did it, so I
Hmm.
can do it too. Because it's a lot of times kids don't see somebody that look like them accomplish something,
Hmm.
so they think it's impossible. But so anytime when I graduated college, I'm like, yeah, they need to come. When I graduate anything, I want to make sure that they see me do it, so that way they can know they can do it too.
Now, and I just have to ask this question: are you the first person in your immediate family to graduate college?
Yes. Yes.
And how does that make you feel as an individual?
Honestly, and I tell people this all the time.
Yeah.
Graduate when I got my bachelor's, it wasn't about me. It was, I had to put the team on my back.
Hmm.
So it was, for my family. I wanted to shift that culture. So, and I don't push college on people.
Right.
I'm like, yo, you need to go. But to me, it was I didn't want that story to continue. Oh, no one in that family has accomplished that.
Hmm.
So it was important for me to get it done. So like I said, I just put the team on my back and accomplished it.
And I'm going to share a little bit of my highlight story with graduating from college. As you stated that you have your nephews, and with any accomplishment,
Hmm.
you make sure that they're involved, they're seeing it,
Hmm.
even if they don't understand what's going on at the
Exactly.
moment. And I remember, I'm not going to say the year because then it's going to show she's an old lady. But I remember when my son was 3 going on 4, and or 4 going on 5.
Mm.
But I remember when I graduated from college,
Mm.
and I was the first person in my immediate family to
Mm.
graduate college because my other siblings were younger or back home in Jamaica.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to attend the graduation ceremony. I told myself I don't have money to spend on the cap and gown and the registration because I already have two kids that I'm struggling with on this side.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember saying to myself, my mom said to me, "So why did you bother to go?" And I remember
Yeah.
my good friend Carolyn said to me, "If you don't go to your graduation ceremony, don't call me." You know. But that moment came as I was walking across the stage, and my 4-year-old son at the time
Mm-hmm.
saw me walking across the stage when my name was called, and I don't think he even knew what was going on, but he
Mm-hmm.
screamed from the back, "That's bad!" And that was one of the most fulfilling moments that I've ever had,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe that pushed them. They're watching me
Mm-hmm.
struggle through school. Even helping me sometimes with my assignment, and
Mm-hmm.
they're watching me doing what I've done, motivate them
Yeah.
also to want to go to college and get a career.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to our social learning theory that states our kids, because we're our kids' first teachers, so our kids mimic our behavior.
Right.
What would you say to the youths who you're working with now that doesn't have that positive role model? Because even though they don't have that positive parental role models in their life, doesn't mean that they have to use that as an excuse
Right.
not to be productive, not to accomplish, not to get out and get a job, not to be just a productive citizen.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them?
My biggest thing would I would tell them is to dream. You
Mm-hmm.
know, having a dream is one of the most important things in this world because when you have a dream, you see yourself being someone other than who you are at that current moment. So dream. You know, and after that, I would tell them that whatever your dream is, work hard. Nothing comes easy. Nothing is
Mm-hmm.
handed to you. Just your current situation doesn't have to be your final destination. Um, and once they achieve everything they set out to do in life, become the adult they needed when they were growing up.
All right.
So if you felt like you needed a strong male role model in your life,
Mm-hmm.
be that strong male role model in someone else's life when you get to that point. That's another thing that I do as well. A lot of times, like and nothing, not knocking my dad at all, because my dad did what he had to do, but my dad had to work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I wanted that, one on one, sitting down, chopping it up, with the male. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes my dad just couldn't do it because he had to work. And I didn't have anybody else really, what I'm saying, that I could turn to like that. Um, well, let me not say that because I will say one of my good friends, his grandfather, he was very
Mm-hmm.
vocal in my life. But it was, I don't know, I try to be that, to other kids. So if a kid is, they don't have a male consistent in their life, I may sit down and chop it up with them, just trying to get in their head and figure out what their thought process is like. And I might not be able to be there every day, but at least somebody that's consistent.
And that's one of the things that I was having a conversation not too long ago with a young lady, and we're having somewhat of a similar conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some times when both parents are in the home, and it's more in because of, as you say, financial issues. One of the parent is really not there.
Yeah.
They're there, but they're not there because
Mm-hmm.
after mom or dad having to go out and probably work a 16-hour shift, sometimes 20 hours. Once they get home, it's just rest time
Yeah.
to go back. But that there comes a time in life when you think about the development and growth of our even our own individual self, we don't remain at the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're not always at the same level, there comes a time when we have to sit down, analyze our own situation, figure out what we want for us, pave
Mm-hmm.
that path and follow it. And going back, she was explaining to me that she actually was working with a group of young ladies, and one young lady states that one young lady say to another, you should be glad that you actually have both mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my mom, and she struggles, and she's never home sometimes, and you know all the other elements that comes with that. And the young lady who have both parents say, you should be glad it's just your mom in the house, because when my parents are home together, it's nothing but fighting. I can't sleep at night because of the all that commotions going on. So at the end of the day, what I think, it's of course our environment influences us. Of
Definitely.
course we mimic our parents, but there comes a time when we have to say, now we have to pave our own path and follow it.
Yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned to me, not off the record, about law school. Tell me about that.
So when I was a kid, people used to always say, "Oh, you'll be a good attorney. You'll be a good attorney." So I was like, okay. Well, one day I was like, I think I'm gonna actually give this a shot. So like I said, I went to college. Got my bachelor's in criminal justice, and even though my law school journey wasn't a success, I found success in that story.
Right.
Because what happened was I graduated. I graduated from college December 19th, and I enlisted to go to enlisted in the military December 30th. So I started studying for the LSAT, which is the entrance exam for the for law school, and I was like, I'm gonna say I was like a couple points off from the score I needed, because I took the LSAT before I shipped out to basic training. So I was a couple points off from the score I needed. So I wasn't gonna be able to go to law school when I got back from all my training. So I worked at a prison for a little under a year, and the whole time I was there, I would take in my study material and study in the booth, so that way I could increase my score for the LSAT. I ended up taking the LSAT again, and I got the score I needed. I actually got over the score I needed, and I was accepted into school. But that right there, that shows to when I'm telling this story, that's a vocal point I try to emphasize is, don't let nothing stop you. If you want it, go get it. Sometimes you have to work a little harder than you originally planned, but it's possible. But I got accepted into school. I moved to Florida, moved to Jacksonville, and moved to Jacksonville. Things fell through with law school, and that was a very down point for me. Like, I didn't have a job. I wasn't in school. Like, I still had bills coming in, so I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I didn't want to run home because pride. Yeah, I'm very prideful. I'll admit it. Like, I'm not letting nothing run me from nothing. I'm gonna tell you that now. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna get through it. So I ended up finding a job. I was just working odd jobs. I worked in the back of a trash truck. I worked in a recycling place. Like, just anything to make some money to get by until something came through. And then I eventually, got the job that I'm at now, working for the state of Florida. And it's just amazing to see from where I was at that point in my mindset, and just where I was at physically, and to see where I'm at now. It just shows me that, with hard work and staying dedicated, you can accomplish.
And that just remind me that everything takes a process.
Oh yeah.
It's not overnight, because just as you say, you're out of school and didn't have a job, and you took a job, whatever job you can get, so as long as it was legal. And that's the mindset that we have to teach our young people. Listen, you want to become the CEO of this company. You're not going to get up tomorrow morning. It's highly unlikely you're going to get up tomorrow, you're going to walk out of high school and become the CEO.
Right.
It could be if you have been working on it. But if it's a job on the trash truck, as he just referred to it, the garbage truck, it is a job. It's legal. You don't have to look over your shoulder 24/7. You are still being productive. Now, tell me about some of the hurdles you have observed in some of the youth's life that you are working with.
Right. And just a disclaimer, I'm not knocking nobody who work on the back of a trash truck. Sanitation, I mean, it's a very important job. And
it's a 500, but it's a 500,000 Fortune company.
Yeah, they actually get paid really well too. I didn't get paid good because I was going through a temp agency, but that's
Right.
Me. But anyway, you said that what are some hurdles I see from the kids that I work with? One of the biggest hurdles I see, like it was kind of going back to, is no positive male role models. A lot of the times in these kids' lives, I'm the only positive role model, male role model they have that they can see every day. And to me, that's very important. Like a lot of kids, they'll look up to like a LeBron James or a J. Cole or somebody, but like these aren't people you can see every day. These
Right.
aren't people that you can have their phone number and call them if something is going wrong. And I think that's very important. Like, and I think about like when I have kids, I want my kids to be able to look and talk to their role model, see their role model. Hey, I look up to him. He's a firefighter. I look up to her. She's a school teacher. That's important to normalize, regular people as being your idol. Because I mean, a lot of the times, you can be sitting across the room from somebody who has accomplished, things that you never would imagine, but you're not looking at them as a hero because they're not on TV or you don't hear them on the radio. So that's one of the biggest hurdles I see is a lot of kids don't have the positive role models. But sometimes it be male or female, honestly.
Right.
And two, poverty. Poverty is, and I think, granted, I mean, I don't know. I think poverty, it affects people in a lot of ways that I think some people don't realize. Like it'll affect you physically, mentally, emotionally, so many different ways. And people have a poverty mindset.
Right.
Like for instance, I remember a conversation. I was talking to a kid and they were saying how they wanted to move out their mom's house, and I'm like, okay, cool. So what's your plan? Oh, I'm gonna just get on housing authority. My thought process: why is the housing authority your first?
Because
thought?
that's what he knows.
Exactly, and that's what I'm
knows.
saying. That's why I say it's a poverty mindset. I'm like, why was your first thought was, oh, I'm gonna just get on housing authority? Why wasn't it, I'm gonna get a job, save my money, and get me a place?
Right.
It was your first thing you thought was, I'm gonna get on some kind of subsidized housing, and it's like that's one of the on top of not having a positive male role model or female role model, you're dealing with that mindset, so it's crippling, and that's when generational curses come in because they think that that's the way of life, that's how things supposed to be.
And it's sad because when you probably talk to a young lady like, why you're not going to school, and sometimes we actually beat them up before we learn their background, before we understand what their problem is. But sometimes we're so ready to just beat them up. In talking to a young lady, why you haven't been to school in so long, what is the problem? You can talk to me. So we have to get to that level where we have to build that rapport with them, where they trust us enough to talk to us. And I had one young lady told me, I'm not going to school because I don't have clothes. I can't change clothes to go to school. I don't have clothes, I don't have shoes, and I'm going to school every day and the same thing, and everybody looking at me crazy. And at that point, it's sad. And what do you do in that situation? I mean, you can walk out there and buy her 2 outfits, but how do we actually handle that situation to have her continue to go to school?
I mean, you can go out there and buy her 2 outfits, but at the end of the day, I mean, clothes is probably not her only problem. If she doesn't have other clothes, I'm sure there's other things going on in the house too that's not being met. So I don't know. It's I a lot of times when I think about these things, sometimes I get like in a bad mood, like a down mood, because it's like I be wanting to save the world, but but I can't.
Yes.
Like, well, let me not say can't, because can't should not be in anybody's vocabulary, but it's hard, I should say. But you be wanting to save the world, but then you realize that it's a lot of hurdles that you gotta jump over, and it's unfortunately it's tough.
Yeah, because some of them does have that potential, but because they are not showing that, they're not working toward their full potential, sometimes they get left behind, and sometimes that is the reason why they ended up going the opposite direction than what, because some of them do want to have that change, do want to do the right thing, but they don't have that support and they don't have the resources. So and that is why it's very encouraging, for each person who know a young person in that situation to mentor them. What do you think about mentoring?
I'm very big on mentoring. Any kid,
Mm-hmm.
young kid that I can, but I'm really big on it being genuine though. Like I don't
Right.
want to force a kid to, spend time with me so I can try to,
Mm-hmm.
mentor them. Like I want it to be genuine. I want us to have a common interest, and that common interest builds on,
Right.
the mentorship. So, for instance, Tavius,
Mm-hmm.
me and Tavius have a common love for sports,
Mm-hmm.
and that it our relationship just built off of that. You know, with him, like it was situations where we'll be talking about sports, and I'm like, so what your grades look like?
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be like, oh, well, I got this. I'm like, well, we need to pull that up.
Right.
Like, and it's funny because me and him were really close and we laugh and joke and kid all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, at the same time, he know when I'm serious. He
Right.
know I don't play about school. You need to, what I'm saying, make sure your grades are together.
Mm-hmm.
Or if a situation where, it's something he doing at the house, you know better than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, to me, mentorship is everything. And cause when your relationship is genuine like that, it doesn't even feel like I'm mentoring this kid. It's what I'm saying. I'm looking out for him. I want to see the best
Mm-hmm.
for this kid or any other kid. So mentorship is everything. I tell people all the time, if you can reach back and
Mm-hmm.
grab a kid, do it.
So before we wrap up, is there any encouraging words that you would like to share with young people who, and I kept saying young people, look, but just let me back up a little bit.
Hmm.
Because even though our focus are on the young people,
Hmm.
we'll be surprised to see how many older folks get motivated from what we're doing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm going to use my book that I wrote as an example.
Hmm.
The book that I recently wrote and published, the targeted population was for my kids that I'm working with.
Hmm.
But then when you look at the reviews and the phone calls that I've received, is actually not even from that population. It's from the older
Yeah.
population
Yeah.
saying how inspired they are
Hmm.
and how motivated, they became motivated and have started doing other positive things in life. But so what encouraging words would I like to give to anyone who desires to change but do not have the resources or just not strong enough to say, okay, I'm going to start?
Well, before I start with that, if you haven't purchased her book already, it is available on Amazon. Go ahead and check it out. It's a great book, great read, and I like to support my people, so definitely check her book out if you haven't already. But what I would tell kids, and it goes back to one of my favorite J. Cole lines is if anything's possible, you have to dream like you never seen obstacles. You in life, nobody's born in the perfect situation. Everybody has something that they wish were better.
Right.
But don't let that hold you back from accomplishing your goals. Don't let it just because you have one negative thing happen in your life, one failure. I mean, I failed 1 billion times, and every time I look at that failure and say, how can I learn from it? Okay, this happened. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try it all over again. But at this point, I'm gonna do this now instead of that.
Mm-hmm.
So one, dream. Two, plan. You have to plan. You can't go in this world and think that you're just gonna freestyle and be successful, because it doesn't happen like that. You have to come up with a legit plan and execute. So you have to execute that plan. Sometimes it's gonna take early mornings. It's gonna take long nights. I mean, there's some times where I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to get something done before I go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Go to work, get off of work, and then start back working on my goal. Because how I look at myself is I look at myself who I am as a business. And I tell people all the time, there's no way I'm going to go work for someone else for 8, 10, 12 hours, however long you work, and not come home and work on my business. So whether that be me being in school, whether that be me just researching something online, or that just me reading a book, I'm going to always try to better myself, because at the end of the day, I am the business.
Right.
And if I can't, put that kind of energy in myself, how can I give that to somebody else? To me, so look at yourself as a business, and have to execute, like I said, reach back and grab somebody else.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing with us this evening. And before I wrap up, what I would like to add is, when you set your goals, set small goals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Use a timeline. Of course, we all have our long term goals, but set small goals, weekly goals.
Yeah.
It's more accomplishing than our long term goals. So you just taking step by step. Just use that analogy that a kid, a baby, never get up and walk. It always more than likely crawls first
Mm-hmm.
before it start walking or even start running around the house. So if you look at life like that, it is gonna be a journey. But so as long as you get to your finishing line, you have achieved. If it means taking a break, rejuvenate, and then start over, it's okay to do that, but it's never okay to quit.
Right.
And for our viewers out there, if you have a story that you would like to share that you think will motivate someone else, please contact me via messenger. Phone number 863-257-2095. I'll be glad to have you as a guest to share your motivational story to encourage others. And remember, pave your own path and follow it.
Well, last thing, I don't want to forget to say this. Manifestation is a real thing. Speak things into existence. Look at yourself and tell yourself who you're going to be, and you'll be amazed how much of that actually comes true.
And in the process of it all, trust God. When you put everything into his hands, everything else fall into place. But you have to put your work in, because yes, he helped those who do what? Try to help themselves. So until next time, take care, and remember, your change is within you.